more change to make. So I want to say that first and foremost. I also want to thank all the mosque leadership that announced this and asked the community members to come down on this very cold day. We're very appreciative of the leadership of our imams and our Muslim community. To all the interfaith guests who've assembled here to help us, we really appreciate your support. And with that said, I'd like to share a few words with you. Our hearts go out to the families of the 3 slain college students. Their lives were as brief as they were beautiful. All of these youths lived as practicing Muslims who donated their time to charitable and humanitarian causes. These children, these bright and beautiful students, 2 of whom were newlyweds, were mercilessly cut down in the prime of life. They are gone too early. They were killed without logic, without reason, without conscience, and without mercy. They were killed in cold-blooded violence by a person who acted without a trace of humanity, with no regard for the sanctity and dignity of human life. Yet as Muslims, we know that even with this horrible and senseless act, there is a divine plan, a plan that we cannot see. As painful as it is to bear, it is a plan in which we can take comfort and solace, knowing that our Creator is ever nigh for those who cry out to Him. Again and again, our thoughts and prayers are for their families, their friends, and their communities. We pray that they will feel the closeness of the one loving and merciful and compassionate God who holds all of our lives in the palm of His hand. To Him we give ourselves completely in our sorrow. We stand in solidarity with those who are grieving this most terrible loss. We as a community, we feel and we know in our hearts and our minds that these children were killed because of their faith. Yet as a civil rights organization, we know that meeting the threshold criteria to be named a, quote, federal hate crime is a very high and difficult bar to meet. We know that the law enforcement investigation is ongoing and that we must be patient as the facts are laid bare. We appreciate the work of the local and federal law enforcement who are working to gather all the evidence to make a just determination. We pray for them as they conduct this painstaking and difficult work. Although meeting the federal standards for constituting an actual hate crime is a high bar, it is clear to us that no one could take these 3 beautiful lives without a bottomless pit of hatred in one's heart. In fact, such a crime is the epitome of hate. It is clear that these children were slain for who they are and for the faith they practice. CAIR National has responded to this crisis by sending our national leadership, Al-Awda, to North Carolina to meet with the families and with the local and federal law enforcement. CAIR immediately called on federal law enforcement to move swiftly to set up an investigation into possible bias and hate motives in this heinous crime. We welcome the announcement late last night that the Federal Bureau of Investigation has set up a preliminary parallel investigation into the possibility of bias and hate motivations. This is extremely important because local law enforcement often does not have the resources to be able to investigate actual hate crimes. At the same time, CAIR has continued in its proactive message across the country to work diligently with the grassroots to build programs that promote justice and mutual understanding, to empower the Muslim American community, and to engage in dialogue and to foster the common good. At the same time, CAIR has been the foremost organization standing at the front lines to challenge hate wherever we see it. This senseless and brutal act of murder should serve as a wake-up call for those who have continued to stoke the fires of anti-Muslim sentiment in this country. There is a minority of voices who have been very loud in their attempts to paint Muslims as not belonging to this land. America is a land whose highest ideals are that all people belong and that all people are valued. They are valued for their diversity, for their differences, for their gifts, their talents, and contributions to making America a better place. Never should our country give in to the voices and actions of those who hate. Never should we cede the territory and go backward and lose ground in the long struggle for civil and human rights. Out of the struggles, we have endeavored to create a nation where religious freedom, tolerance, acceptance, and mutual understanding and pluralism should, must, and will prevail. But we must work together to do so. We should not give in to those who attempt to demonize the entire Muslim community and the faith of Islam by painting it with a broad brush of terrorism and violence. These young people exemplified the beauty of Islam in their public service and community activism. Their positive spirits and vibrant lives are testimony to the faith they held dear in their hearts. We cannot let their deaths be in vain. We must redouble our efforts to explain the true nature of Islam to the American people. We must continue to reach out to the society at large. We must continue to organize and speak out against hate and intolerance wherever we find it. Whether that hate is espoused on the streets of our neighborhoods or in the halls of power. Whether it is espoused by misguided religious leaders, media pundits like Fox News, think tanks, or politicians. We must call out hatred wherever we find it and challenge that hatred with justice and wisdom. We must challenge ignorance with education, and we must challenge those who are lost and misguided with mercy, guidance, and love. At the same time as we stand against hate,